Imagine for a moment you are working a job you despise, constantly running yourself dry day in and day out with no sort of hope for the future you envision. And when you open your phone to Instagram, you see a person advertising a way for you to get out of your situation, to make the ridiculous amount of money you always wanted to make, though it is behind a paywall of a smaller yet excessive amount of money, just for the chance of making a difference in your life. You know it's risky, and the fear of you passing up your life-changing event and losing it all rests within your mind. You are willing to make that extreme gamble. What you experience in a moment like that is the fever. I am more or less active in two different communities, and that is the One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen communities. And in both series, I find that there are a lot of people who aren't narratively locked into the purpose and themes of certain characters. Of course, there are people who can understand the nuance of people like Gojo as an example, but there are some, even many, situations where characters have their themes ignored if something undesired happens to their character. To take a step into rectifying this, I want to make a video on my favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen, the feverish gambler, Kinji Hakari. Hakari is a special grade sorcerer, a suspended student from Tokyo Jujutsu Tech, said to be one of the students to eventually surpass Gojo in the rank of special grade as we know it. I'm going to make a quick assumption in that you already know his technique, or if you haven't reached this chapter, you can learn about his technique from another video. I'd make a video on his technique, but I generally don't like making videos if I don't feel like I can add something new to the table. However, if you don't know his CT and don't care, what's important to know about his technique is that through a series of gambling, Hakari can land a jackpot and will be given an unlimited supply of cursed energy, which in turn automatically activates reverse curse technique and makes him immortal. Now, there has been a lot of talk about the validity of both Hakari's character and power. Yuta says on a roll Hakari is stronger than him. However, in recent chapters, conversation has swayed on whether or not this is true. In this video, I want to focus on the themes of Hakari and maybe some ways he can develop into the monster that could be the gambler. At face value, it seems that Hakari's whole deal is just gambling, but it's quite a bit deeper than that. You see, Hakari's big deal is the fever. Looking it up, the meaning of fever that Hakari is referring to is that feeling of nervous excitement or agitation, an instinctual feeling you will inevitably experience at least once in your life. For Hakari, his goal is to control the country's fever with his fight club. Funny enough, bringing this up at this current point in manga is kinda odd and almost feels misplaced. There hasn't necessarily been mention of the fight club Hakari wants to run. Hakari wants to take over the country's fever. But what does this mean? I love the fever, and the fever is gambling, and gambling is life. And love is control. I want to control this country's fever through this fight club. If you dissect Hakari's statement, the fever equals life, and love equals control. Applying this to what he wants to achieve, you are left with, I want to control this country's life through this fight club. You can also read this as, I want to love this country's life through this fight club, which is how I interpret this sentence. This line, interestingly, provides a definitive relationship between love and Hakari. And to be clear, this is a sign of strength, narratively at least. You see, the three people who are in some form or fashion revered as the strongest, being Suguna, Gojo, and Kashimo, had their own distinction when it came to love. Same with Yuta Okkotsu, whose take on love is a bit more definitive. However, these are all topics for another video. The point being, that gives Hakari some building blocks to become stronger. Of course, this is a narrative argument, and I'll get more into the tangible means later in the video. What's important right now is that Hakari is addicted to gambling. To always take that extra risk to land a jackpot is something Hakari always banks on. And that's what I want to focus on when it comes to development of not only Hakari, but his abilities as a power set. The first thing we could take away from Kinji Hakari is the confidence, or rather the obsession with taking the risk. We see that Hakari is always confident to roll the dice on life and death situations, and it is within that confidence that has garnered him moments to truly flourish. Example being staking his life into a single gamble to attain jackpot, or going into a fight ready to battle until he obtains jackpot. And interestingly enough, this ability to take risk isn't just within Hakari. Many others, in particular the strongest, have sought to take risk as well in order to achieve higher levels of power. Imagine Gojo from hidden inventory when he gave up on fighting back in order to perform a technique he was never able to up until that point. Or Sukuna placing his trust in the Mahoraga to help creating the World Slash. Even Yuta Okkotsu risking his life in order to take over Gojo's body, unaware of the ramifications following it. All of these people did in fact evolve from these dire moments. The second thing I want to highlight from Hakari is the skill aspect and grabbing hold of your luck. Between Hakari and Blue Lock, my personal perspective of luck has been altered. Or rather, I'd like to say it's been upgraded. You see, it's very easy to attribute what goes on regarding luck to something that exists outside of your hands. Imagine what you're born with, the environment you live in, the people you end up meeting. These are all things that could simply be understood as things that are out of your control. On the other hand, however, to embrace the mindset that you have the ability to still take control over what you can do and make that your driving force is something that I think should be noted and embraced by everyone. And this is not to discredit what absolutely amazing luck can and has done for people, but instead to empower those who have been dealt a bad hand. Hakari stated that society tramples on those who can't get big and those who don't know when to quit, and skill bridges that gap in between. Life exists as a constant cycle of turmoil. Unexpected things are guaranteed to happen, both good and bad. Though you need the skill to not only recognize your opportunity to take luck, but to be able to perform to do such. I know it's pretty easy to rag on Hakari's abilities as a sorcerer, but to consider that there is still a skill that is required in order to function at the level that he does. To even achieve jackpot, Hakari has to fight his opponent within his domain while they still have access to their technique. That means Hakari, until he hits a jackpot, still has to fight against said sorcerer that wants to stop his technique from manifesting. Even after achieving jackpot, looking at his fight with Kashimo, Hakari comes very close to death multiple times. One example being when Kashimo shot a lightning bolt through Hakari's head and he shot out Kashimo's cursed energy through his nose while his brain was being healed. Hakari has to make up what his luck grants him by having the skill to attain it and to hold it. I want to use this theme to get my point across in how you can use this mindset within real life. Sure, things such as luck and talent are going to play a factor when it comes to comparing yourself to everyone else, but by no means is that an excuse to give up. Discover your own talents, what you're good at, and expand on that more and more. More than likely, you don't even know what you're truly capable of. Be consumed by the fever that allows you to love, and use that same love to love yourself. And frankly, that is all I have for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Did you agree? Disagree? Did I get something wrong? As well as any other ideas that you may want me to speak on. And with that, I hope you all have a great day. Goodbye.